This is a podcast for the change makers, earth shakers, paradigm shifters, trailblazers, black sheep, self-healers, and generational pattern changers. For the heart-centered rebel who craves deep connection, transparent conversation, and real talk about transformation. These are conversations for renegades by renegades. And this is from the heart of a renegade.
Please be advised, this show may contain sensitive subjects and a lot of F-bombs.
All right, welcome back to part 2 of the mission of Sit With It. Now, we ended the last episode talking about feelings and talking about what we have essentially systemized and created that we have taught practitioners from all over the world, and that's amazing.
Yeah.
And with having the soul of a healer and the heart of a renegade, with being a trailblazer, with being a creator of any kind, comes backlash. And so we're going to talk a little bit about the backlash that we have also experienced on this mission, and also about the fact that a lot of people will look at what we have created and say, that's out of scope though. Like, what you're doing is out of scope. We've had people say, that's dangerous. We've had practitioners locally who were so confronted by what we had started to do that even though there was a ton of them that joined our program, that have taken this work, that have helped their clients, there were some that absolutely despised what we were doing.
They were a little bent out of shape.
They were a little bent out of shape to the point where people in I believe it was 2021 of February 2021, we suddenly woke up with multiple fake accounts that were attacking us online. They were leaving fake reviews. It was absolutely horrifying. And I think this piece is really important to mention, because with any mission that you want to bring forth into the world is going to come friction. And I honestly don't know how we got through some of that, aside from the fact that, you know, it's helpful that we're in it together. Mm-hmm. And because the mission is so much bigger than us.
Well, I think that when I break it down and I look at our clients, our students, and the clients that they serve, how did any of us get through life? We've separated and dissociated from our feelings in order to keep going at times because we didn't have enough time or safety to process it.
That's a good point.
And so I would say that we utilized some of those techniques to keep going.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we risked dropping all of it.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Now, I do want to mention, if you have not listened to part 1...
Oh, yeah, you got to go there first.
...of the mission of Sit With It, definitely go back and listen to that, because it's going to really set the stage and the context for this episode. Mm-hmm. So, as we mentioned, though, just a very short recap. We've trained practitioners in 8 different countries. They're doing sit sessions with their clients. We have heard of miraculous healings from all over the place. It's absolutely incredible. Mm-hmm. And one of the most common backlashes that we receive is that should be reserved for therapy. And I think that's a really interesting concept, because from our perspective, we love therapists and therapists love us.
Great line of work. Bless them for doing what they're doing.
Yes. Absolutely. And many of them have referral partnerships with our SIT practitioners, mm-hmm. because it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's the really big misinterpretation, is that what we're doing is a form of therapy. It is a form, like, it is therapeutic.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about that a little bit with you, because in my mind, to say that what you're doing, those people that are seeking out SIT, they need therapy. To me, when I look at my dad, for example, who we shared his story in the last episode, he would not have known, especially for a wrist injury, that he needs therapy. Okay? If you have a physical symptom, why would you go to a therapist? So saying that these clients shouldn't be seeing SIT practitioners, this is out of scope, they should be going to therapy, implies that they have an awareness that their symptom is emotional, and most people don't.
Right.
Now imagine being a therapist and having, somebody come into the office saying, I was told to come and see you from my massage therapist because I have shoulder pain. What is the therapist going to do? They're going to be like, I don't usually work on shoulder pain.
Maybe tell me how you feel about it.
Right. And so what we're really doing with SIT is we're bridging the gap between the two worlds.
When we look at everything historically, and we've spoken about this many a times, where if we go all the way back into history, and we look at that time, the Pope and René Descartes, who was a philosopher, and he was so fascinating about the human body. He was like, what is happening inside?
Mm-hmm. He wanted to dissect
the body and see inside the body. And the Pope was like, okay, fine. You know what? Here's the deal. You can touch the body, like you can cut it open, but heaven forbid, you can't go anywhere near the emotions or the spiritual center of these bodies and these people.
Because that belongs to the church. And so that was fractured many years ago, but has continuously been taught and told and upheld to looking at our fractured system today. Mm-hmm. If you have a physical thing, you go to a massage therapist or a chiropractor. If you have an emotional thing, you go to a therapist. If you have a spiritual thing, maybe you go to church or you find whatever spiritual centers are available. And so everything is still segregated in that format. And what we crack the code on is, oh my gosh, if we can just allow people to connect two pieces together there, the mind, body, and the spirit, then we can help bring resolution very, very quickly without having to dissect their past. Like, we are so blatantly honest about this in all of our trainings. We don't need that information. That's between them and their therapist. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right?
And sometimes, and I think that's the really beautiful thing, is after you do SIT and after you sit with it and after you uncover that memory. So for me, it was, okay, I got this gift and then I had to hide it. Mm-hmm. And now the pattern that we identified was every time I would buy something and feel guilty, I would get the migraines. So after that, if I felt the need to go to a therapist to talk about the fact that my dad had me hide this from Donna and all of the repercussions of that, then I can go and do that. Absolutely. If I need to talk about it. But I think the really beautiful thing is people have fucking talked about it for so long. Yeah. And they're tired of talking about it.
Yes.
And we've heard that.
Yeah. They're like, why am I still talking about this over and over and over? And it's our SIT practitioners are like, oh, it's because there's an emotional signature that hasn't been dealt with yet.
So we remove that emotional signature. We resolve that subconscious imprint.
Yeah.
And then the thing itself resolves. And if you need to talk about it, then absolutely go and see a therapist. But I think what's really cool is a lot of people don't even need a therapist after to unpack it. A lot of people who have actually even maybe done therapy have literally said, I have done 5 years, 10 years of therapy. How did we not get to this moment?
Yeah.
And we've had a lot of therapists who have come through the program and also felt like it was the missing link.
And I think what a lot of people get confused about with our work is they think that we are going for these hugely traumatic events, which is not our intention. What we're intending to do is find even some seemingly insignificant moments.
Like mine wasn't a big trauma.
Right. You were given a gift.
I was given a gift and then told to hide it. There are way more traumatic things that could have been surfaced.
Totally. I mean, even the grief counselor you went to, it was so apparent. Like, of course, this would have to do with your dad ending his life. But that wasn't what the root of it was.
It wasn't what the root of it. Exactly.
Right. And so that is the common misconception when people are like, what are you doing? And we're like, we're just going to these moments and resolving the data. We don't even need to have, what's fascinating is we don't actually even need to know what the memory is to resolve the data around it. And I think that's the important piece of really recognizing what the body is holding and how it's bouncing between the body and the mind. And that can really rub some people the wrong way because they don't have all the information. They don't have all the training, right? They're either getting relayed back what their client has been like, oh my gosh, this amazing thing happened. I went to a SIT practitioner and so they have minimal information about what's happening. And I think that's where some things can get a little misconstrued. But the biggest piece that I think is coming from that old, outdated story and paradigm of don't you dare touch the emotions or the spiritual center.
Exactly.
Because it doesn't belong to you.
Yes. Which is also just really funny to me because like every new thing was forged, trailblazed, and brought forth and innovated by somebody who didn't have the right to bring it forward. Like, really?
What do you mean by that?
Okay, well, let's talk about the fact that before airplanes existed. Okay, so right now, if you want to fly an airplane, you have to go and get your pilot's license, right? You have to spend hundreds of hours practicing. You have to learn all of these things. But what about the two men that decided to fly an airplane the first time? They didn't have a pilot's license. They didn't have training. They forged something forward. They innovated. They brought it forward. If you look back at like any form of even therapy came from someone who did not have a right to bring it forth into the world, but they had curiosity.
And they were wanting to experiment.
And they tried things and they brought it forward.
Totally.
And that's what we've done. We've learned many different things and we experimented with it and we experienced it and then eventually we systemized it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I find it really interesting that it is such a poke in the eye, I guess, for certain people, especially because at that time, if we go back to February 2021, the reason a lot of these practitioners were so angry is because we were putting out a lot of organic content and we were highlighting our practitioners.
Yeah.
And so we were sharing the results that they were getting. And I think it's so sad and it really shows the shadow and the underbelly of this industry, of the healing practitioner industry, that there was so much ego involved that they were literally inflicting trauma upon us. Like they were trying to hurt us to stop us from helping practitioners who were helping their clients.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of shadow within the industry that we have essentially been mirrors to and shone a light on.
Yeah. I mean, when we look at, so for myself, you know, there's a huge mission inside of me with SIT to teach practitioners about themselves. How did you get here? How did you develop these fears or these insecurities or the lack of confidence or the need for competition to prove something? How did you get there as a practitioner? And so to teach people about why they are the way they are makes them a way more efficient, grounded individual to then help their clients, right? It makes them a really strong practitioner. Because what I was really noticing is, I mean, I didn't see any practitioner training in any of my trainings about how to be a grounded individual who is very aware of, oh, that's one of my shadows. Oh my gosh, that's an outdated belief. Holy shit, I just about projected that all over my client.
Yes.
It's stuff like that, right? And that's, the rapport building was never, ever taught. And for me, it took me enough times of laying on enough people's tables to finally get tired of the shit that practitioners were saying over top of me.
Oh yeah.
While I couldn't get away because I had needles in my back. And
it's horrifying. I barely want to see practitioners anymore because I'm like, I literally don't know who to trust in the industry.
Because they're not taught.
They're not
taught on what it's like to be there for their client, not there for themselves. And that can be a really quite stark awakening as well. And I have to say though, our practitioners are like, I've watched inside of so many sessions right now and they are sensational. It's never about our practitioners. It's always about their clients. They are such a difference. Yeah.
So not long ago, I had a referral to go to a massage therapist because there was something that I was dealing with in my back that I couldn't get to the root of. And after doing a whole bunch of physical body work, I'm like, hey, this has to be emotional. Like, what is going on? And so it's interesting because now I feel like I'm so immersed in this world. You might be too close to the picture. And so what used to be this beautiful where you could help me, now it's like I feel like I need external. It's all, I don't know. What do you think that is? That's just a side note.
I think a lot of it is, it just kind of gets us stuck in a little bit of an echo chamber. And sometimes I just want my wife.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Ditto.
Right.
Ditto. So anyways, I had this referral and the way that this person was described is it's the closest to what you and V do. So I was like, awesome. I was so relieved. I was so excited. And I go to this massage therapy appointment, and as I'm describing what's happening, and I'm on the table at this point, and I'm describing what it feels like, because she had the knowledge to ask those questions, which I was really excited about. And I felt this well of emotion start to come up. And in that moment, I had a moment of like, oh my God, we got to it. We found it. She's going to help me release it. And what ended up happening is she made the whole thing about herself. Oh. So I had this emotion coming up, and I was literally about to start crying and like let it out and have this emotional release. And she goes, oh, I've had such a similar thing happen. Gabba, 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 gabba. And then she just starts talking about herself. And so my body, literally, I felt myself tense, shove it down. This is not the place to express this emotion. And I'm going to have to deal with this later.
Wow.
And that is horrifying to me, because, and that's one of the first things we teach our practitioners, is not to relate. There are moments, there is nuance, sometimes relating and sharing from like wisdom of being, you know what, can I share something? I worked through something very similar. This is what I learned. That can be very helpful. If your client is in the middle of experiencing a big emotion and they're like processing through something, and you grab it and you make it about yourself. Not the time. That to me creates more disconnect in the industry.
And mistrust.
And so that is part of the mission, is creating emotionally intelligent and emotionally grounded practitioners who have the emotional maturity to be able to understand when their stuff is coming up, and to, let's put it down, and we're going to talk about this later because now's not the time, to have the emotional awareness to be able to hold space for the client. Mm-hmm. And that's missing.
It is so missing. And I think it's missing because of this outdated conversation that, heaven forbid, we talk to our clients about something that is so innately natural inside of them. To remove that from a practitioner training who was working with people in vulnerable formats, to me, that is one of the biggest disservice that we have done to practitioners. That has been done to them, is to remove that. Why not train them to support them in the moment?
Exactly.
Like, everybody remains safe. And then if that practitioner does not want to help beyond that, that's where they refer them to somebody else. But to halt that process when it is right there, gosh, that makes me upset. I get mad.
I know, I get mad too. And what you just said is really brilliant, is to know when to refer out, because not everyone is meant to do this type of work.
That's true.
And that's not what we're saying. We're not saying that every massage therapist should be trained in SIT per se.
No, SIT calls the practitioners in. Those people know. They're already looking for it. They're like, I know there's something deeper. I don't know how to get to it. I don't know how to hone my intuitive gifts, but I know that there's information here. I don't know. Like, it's like, I want to help these people through it because all my clients on the table are there, but I just don't know how to get them to connect it and then release it. This is called in.
Oh yeah.
These people know already.
Yeah.
And the ones that it's not meant for, well, they're very verbal about what they think about it, or they're just like,
or they get it and they don't want to do it, and they know, they refer to our practitioners.
Totally.
And I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been really interesting.
Yeah. When you think about what's important for you, for people or practitioners to have this work, what is the most important thing on your mind right now that you're like, this is why it's so important?
So many people, and I believe we all have the same core needs. We talk about this in our program. We all need to be seen, to be heard, to belong, to be safe and or protected.
And acknowledged.
And so using that exact example, where there was a memory that was bubbling up and I was on the table and it was at the back of my heart center and it was something that I hadn't resolved, to not have that safe space, to just be seen in that moment. I don't need you to relate to me. I don't need you to fucking fill the space. I do not need you to talk. Just hold space for a minute. Mm-hmm. We live in a world that is so uncomfortable with feelings. and this is how we ended part 1. She was uncomfortable with allowing just a breath for me to just sit there for a moment and let this emotion come up without her having to fill the space. She was not able to feel her own feeling of discomfort and allow it to exist without jumping in, filling space, talking about herself. And so as a result, it perpetuates within the client, so myself in that case, of not being seen, not being heard, not being acknowledged, not feeling safe. And to me, knowing what I know now and all of the things that I've been able to heal within myself and create within my life, the generational patterns that I've overturned, I'm like, it's not that hard, this work. It's presence, it's safety, it's seeing someone, it's acknowledging them, it's hearing them, and ensuring that they feel that and helping them get that need met. If we can create practitioners who have the ability to do that, those people go home and they are better partners, they're better parents, they're better leaders, they're better bosses, they're more creative because they're not operating from 5-year-old me who wasn't seen, heard, acknowledged, safe, protected, belonging. They're now able to acknowledge that 5-year-old self and then start to operate as their 30 or 40 or 50 or 60-year-old self. From a place of intelligence and creation. And I think that's incredible. Like that is incredible that's what we have the capacity to do for somebody. When they come for a massage.
Yeah.
they come into the treatment room because they have shoulder pain. And you just not only help them resolve the shoulder pain, but help them resolve the grief that they've been carrying on their chest for decades.
Yeah.
That is now going to allow them to go out into the world and be a more expressed version of themselves. For me, I feel so motivated by this work because of what it's done for me. All the way down to, like, sure, I talk about the physical symptoms, but like wearing shorts. My whole childhood and my whole into being an adult up into my 20s, I never wore shorts. No matter how hot it was outside, I was so insecure about my skin and about my legs. I still don't even know where that came from. But as a result of doing this work and falling so in love with myself and not having that self-hatred, I wear booty shorts, baby.
They are the tiniest little booty shorts. It's amazing.
Like, summer is the best time. I want to wear the least amount of clothes as possible.
Yeah.
Please don't make us live in Canada much longer, Bella. And that is liberation. And it's not like I went to a therapist or a sit practitioner or a session to talk about the fact that I don't wear shorts. It's just these crazy side benefits that come from releasing the shackles of belief systems that we've held and created based on these moments in time that just need to be acknowledged. And then everything else that resolves from that. I'm like, that's so random and amazing.
Yeah. The pattern identification that we teach our practitioners to hone in on yields the most bonker results. The things that shift, like even just yesterday, I was watching a case study and this person was working on strengthening their self-esteem. And so they were experiencing anxiety. And as I'm watching the practitioner ask, oh, like, how was your last 2 weeks? And tell me about your knee pain. She's like, oh, like my knees. She's like, yeah, your knees that hurt all the time. And she's like, oh, yeah, they only hurt when I go upstairs. And I'm watching the practitioner, because these are recorded sessions that I'm giving feedback on. And the practitioner is basically like screaming and waving her arms everywhere because here is something that has plagued this person for years that's just suddenly gone as a byproduct of working on the anxiety and the self-esteem.
Oh my gosh. That's incredible.
It is incredible. It's so fun to watch those, to see these people come alive and then they're expressed and then they're talking about how their relationships have changed and people who end up ending marriages and finding incredible partnerships and money stories that change, job opportunities that change, People who suddenly are like, I just kind of stopped talking to this whole circle of people because I realized that they're not nice. And, you know,
Right.
and recognizing where their beliefs lie in regards to what they can and cannot have, what they can and cannot go for, what they can and cannot receive, and who they are at their core, which they're just products of their environment, which is oftentimes passed down information or these singular moments that they made believe, oh, I must not be worthy, or I must not be allowed to have enough, or if I have that, it means that I'm XYZ. And so to watch these people become liberated, which is funny because most of them are coming in being like, oh yeah, I have this knee pain that hasn't gone away in 3 years. And then suddenly they, like you said, all of this liberation happens. It's just the coolest thing to witness and to hear about.
It's so cool. It's so cool.
I remember a woman that years ago that I had worked on. I don't remember her name. I only remember one session, and it had to do with her being really upset with, at that time, her husband. And we worked on the session. It had nothing to do with the husband. It had to do with, you know, many years prior to that. And then I never heard from this person again. And I remember then a few years later sitting across from a man. And he looked at me and I said, well, what brings you here? And he said, you have no idea who I am. And I said, I don't know who you are. And he said, you worked on my wife. You had one session with her and she promptly came home, divorced me, and then left.
Oh my God.
And I said,
was not expecting that.
and I was sitting there going, this is awkward. Like, where do we go from there? I'm sorry, I don't know.
Did you think he was there to like confront you?
I had no idea
my-
why he would come to me if that was,
Oh
you know,
my
connected
gosh.
to me being the practitioner. I was stunned. But what he said was, that was a gift. It was painful. He's like, but what happened as a result of that and the freedom she clearly has, he said, I want that too now.
Oh my gosh.
I know. I just about fell into a puddle on
Oh
the floor
my
and I was like,
gosh.
well, here we go. And it's just, things can change so quick, simply by looking at these moments. And, you know, for me, when I rewind so far back, I hadn't even met you yet. And I was in acupuncture school. And I remember having this experience of like, it's like I couldn't feel my heart. I couldn't feel maybe like a sense of love, like something was buried for me. And at that time, a Reiki teacher had put her hand over my chest to do a little Reiki there. And my whole body convulsed as if I wasn't allowed to have that.
Oh, wow.
And she looked at me and she said, I don't know what it is, but you need to forgive yourself or whoever else is a part of this that's causing that. And I remember looking her in the face and being like, forgiveness. And she's like, yeah, keep saying I forgive myself until you actually believe it. And I was like, and I remember sitting there crying. I didn't know why I was crying, but I just knew obviously there was something connected to this. And so that moment when you talk about being seen, that was what I needed. It had nothing to do with anything of the treatment. Like that person slowed down and just looked at me and was like, this, you need to look at this. Look at what it's doing to you. And for someone to slow down and just really see that, to me, it's always been such a huge anchor point in my mind. What kind of a practitioner could I be if I just slowed down and saw people right where they are? And for me, I think that's where I created so much success. I wasn't the best acupuncturist, but I was really fucking good at listening to people and seeing them. That's what bartending taught me. Mm-hmm. Like as a bartender, talk about a training ground, customer service, training ground for all of that. And so when we are really training these people to really see their client, I bet you that's 80% of the healing.
I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. I mean, if you think about the generations that precede us and our family and what they were taught about emotional regulation.
Oh, yeah.
Like how many of our practitioners and how many of you listening were taught that children are to be seen, not heard?
Literally, a client of mine just said that just very recently. Yeah.
Right. And so that was their programming.
Mm-hmm.
And so they literally were not heard.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you sit across from a practitioner who has no ulterior motive They're not there to get their own need met. Like, they literally have been taught everything that we teach, especially this needs component.
Yeah.
Well, that's a cycle in itself that is actually able to be closed.
Totally.
That's so powerful. So
powerful.
What is your mission with SIT?
Yeah, for me, oh my gosh, watching these, it's twofold, because for me, I think being at the front of SIT next to you, I think I give people a lot of permission to go, oh my gosh, she's intuitive. Oh my gosh, she can hear things. Oh my gosh, she can feel things. Holy shit, she's not taken down as this empath. Like, what? And so I feel like I can be this beacon of light for these very spiritual, metaphysical, intuitive practitioners. And it doesn't matter. I'm not just talking about like Reiki, and like I'm talking about physios, chiropractors, cranio practitioners.
Doctor, we just had a doctor that we did her grad call on Friday.
Yes, we have another one coming up.
But she said, she said this. She said, you were the first mentor who taught me that I'm not crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because she could hear things and see things.
Right.
Yeah.
But one of the things that she had mentioned was, I didn't know that I could just turn it off like it was a light switch. And so for me, it's really about empowering these practitioners, because, you know, I see them, and I've gone to so many of them hoping for a massage or whatever, and they are destroyed by their empathetic capacities because they don't know how to use it properly. So it's like twofold. It's like I can have access to them because they can see themselves inside of me and what I'm representing. Mm-hmm. And so I give them permission to stand up and be an authority, not just like this healer in their like basement door room. Like, it's like, you're a professional and you can be treated as such, because what you have is an incredible amount of value. Mm-hmm. And so to stand up and help them with that, so that's their authority piece to help them with. But then to also be like, here's this really cool modality where you can take it anywhere in the world. Anywhere you want to go is basically your treatment room now. You don't have to be in that dark room with no windows that we're so used to working in with low lighting all day long. You don't have to choose that anymore. You can actually choose a whole new way of being. And not only can you now provide these life transformational sessions for people, that's going to fill you, because people are going to cry and be like, I didn't even know that was possible. So it's going to fill your heart to such a degree that now you can begin to dream about all the other ways that you can offer support in groups, online, in person, in programs. You can begin to actually utilize your full gifts as a healing practitioner, no matter what modality you started off in. Because these people, what I've witnessed and experienced myself, have been just beaten left, right, and center by the Western medical community, being like, oh, cute modality. Oh my gosh, no, they're just the woo-woo ones. I'm like, oh no, we have really strong skill sets. And if we can lean into it and value it and see how worthy we are to take up space and help people, oh my gosh, there is so much available. So much available out there.
It's funny that you mentioned that about the Western practitioners, because oftentimes we and our practitioners are cleaning up the trauma that the Western modalities have inflicted.
Yeah.
And you also had commented on the word woo-woo. And y'all who are listening, if you still call yourself woo-woo, one of the things that we have forbidden in our community is the words sabotage and woo-woo. We'll talk about sabotage in a different episode, but woo-woo is something that we started to notice our practitioners. We would do these incredible generational healings, and you can only do these in group, and we only do them in person. And I remember a very specific time where one of the ladies who was present, she said, I'm just going to go home and tell my husband I was just doing a bunch of woo-woo stuff and he won't ask questions. And I interrupted that thought pattern of what you just did is not woo-woo. And by you calling it woo-woo and just brushing it under the rug like that, all it does is lowers the credibility and feeds into that system that does not value the power of this work. Mm-hmm. So we actually need to undo, in my opinion, calling it woo-woo, because that is lowering its credibility. You are perpetuating the cycle that you're afraid of people judging. And I think that's really important, because that work in particular, we have seen a miracle baby be born. Two, you're right. 2. Well, 3.
Oh yeah, that's right.
3.
People who were deemed medically incapable of becoming pregnant and carrying to full term.
Oh my gosh, these beautiful. And we got to meet beautiful Layla.
Yeah.
So, oh my gosh.
Yeah. The woo-woo thing is, and I think that's just coming from a place of not wanting to take up space and avoiding, facing it head on and just letting people continue to think what they want to think, which if that's the way you want to approach it, sure. But this is powerful medicine and this is powerful work. And I think it should be treated as such.
And talked about with dignity.
Absolutely. There is so much evidence and ways to explain this work. The thing that most people will discredit is because you can't see it. But everybody who has a soul inside of a human body, they can feel it. And a lot of it makes them feel uncomfortable. And so I think that that's where we want to just brush it aside, right? So anyways,
I always find that funny, because I'm like, bruh, you walk around on Sundays wearing another man's name on your back and you're calling me woo-woo? You know the stats and the weight and the height of a random man on a football team, and I'm woo-woo? That's good.
That's good. I like that.
Oh, that's funny. Anyways, yeah. Taking up space and really owning the value of this work.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wow.
What a good conversation. Us coming in, we need to talk about the backlash. We need to talk about the mission.
Yeah. I think the mission is, from the start, it was always to build an army of empowered healers.
Yeah.
And we shifted our language from healers because we wanted to reach people who did not see themselves as healers.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you got to play the game. But to me, we are all healers on this planet. And some of the most miraculous healers are not in the healing profession.
Tell me more.
Well, actually, okay, that's not a good example. I was going to say you had that experience with that person who just told you that you need to forgive. Okay, I'll tell you an example though. I had lived with a man named Denny. Oh my gosh, I bet you he'll listen to this somehow.
I hope so, Angel.
So this was way back in the day. I would have been like 18 or 19. And he was my roommate, and we were just the quirkiest. Like, I was this badass, neck tattoo, intense little human being who partied a lot. And he was like coming out of that kind of era and like starting to soften. So I would like try to meditate, and he'd make a noise, and I'd be like, Daddy, fucking shut up. I'm trying to meditate. I'm trying to be spiritual. And so that was like, and then he had just lost his wife, and he was an old man, and he had one glass eye that kind of just looked off in one direction. And I'm pretty sure he was what do you call people who lie?
Compulsive liar?
Like he was a compulsive liar. He drank Jack Daniels every day. So we were this very unique healer partnership for each other. Like, I helped him and he helped me, and neither of us were healers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally.
He was one of my greatest healers and angels that came into my world when I needed him. But he was not a healer. But he really did help me in so many ways on my journey. He was one of my greatest spiritual teachers, and dude was not spiritual on the outside. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so there's people in the world who are just earth angels.
Yeah.
And some of them are absolutely imperfect. And some of them literally feel like the most perfect angels, where it's like, you are so kind that your love and your generosity and your gentleness as a human being is healing me, but it's not in a treatment room. It's in the grocery store. It's at a car dealership. It's whatever. So that's what I meant.
I love that so much. And I love what you said about how you two weren't we'll call it like the typical match of what we would say, here's a healing relationship.
Yeah.
Because when we look at the signature of our soul or the signature of our being and how we have adapted into whatever we believe we deserve or we believe we're worthy of, whatever that is. And our environment will dictate that usually from the beginning. And then we start to kind of like look at ourselves and analyze ourselves as to like, why are we this way? And what I'm getting at is if that was the only person that you could actually see and receive it from versus me, had I shown up at that time, there's no way you could have received it from me.
You wouldn't have been able to even see me.
Right.
You and I talked about this. We have probably been at the same place at the same time.
Yeah.
But we couldn't see each other at the time. We were not ready.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so there's these energetic aspects too that go along with our beliefs and our emotions that when those weigh us down, it changes our energetic frequency.
Mm-hmm.
And even though we can't see it, it's so subtle on a feeling base that therefore we gravitate towards the people that we can receive from.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love that so much.
Mm-hmm. So I love you giving this example because here is this person that met you synchronistically right when you needed them to teach you whatever you needed to be taught. And then the relationship, I'm guessing, dissolved and it's not there anymore.
Yeah.
And so you moved on from that into different teachers and different earth angels that came into your path.
Yeah. And I did something for him as well. He is now married to a man. So he lost his wife who he had been with for decades, decades. She died of cancer. And I showed him a truth within himself that he had ignored for his whole life. And he's now married to a man in his he's in his 70s now for sure.
Oh, wow.
And so I think that's really beautiful because I was his healer, but I was I'm wearing a backwards hat, smoking cigarettes, like total, just street kid that came into his life and was his healer. And so our mission started with, we want to help empower the healers, the professional healers.
Yeah.
And that really started to evolve because a lot of people in the professional trade, they don't see themselves as healers, for example, or that just doesn't resonate. And so we did our rebrand, and that was kind of how this whole conversation opened, to sit with it.
Yeah.
Because that is really, it doesn't matter if you are a doctor, a physiotherapist, an osteopath,
Stay-at-home mom turned professional.
Yeah. It's like you are helping people sit with it, and you are able to also sit with it again without filling the space, without trying to make somebody feel better, but just like with pure love and curiosity.
Yeah.
And that's really powerful. And so even though I do believe that we are all here to heal each other, not everybody resonated with the phrase empowered healers, us included. I think we outgrew that. But the mission. So if we were to make it a very succinct mission, this one's for you, DL.
Not an hour long conversation, but you want like 2 phrases?
Well, this is what it's been. It's we're building an army of empowered healers, hope dealers, and generational pattern changers. That's what we're doing. It doesn't matter if you call it SIT, whatever you learn this work, it's going to change you. It's going to change how you show up in this world. And most importantly, for those of you who work with clients, it's going to change how you show up in the treatment room and beyond, like V said, because I love that.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, you're going to reach way more people than we could. Because back in the day when you were working 6 days a week and you literally could not fit more people on your calendar, and we decided, okay, we're going to teach this. That was because we knew that we could reach way more people than you could on your own. I mean, if you think about it, you take you and let's say you were seeing 40 clients a week?
Sure.
That might
30.
be a lot. 30. Okay, let's say 30. Okay, so there's one of you and then 30. Now let's say it's you and then you teach 30 people and each of them see 30 clients. Well, we've just multiplied.
Wow. Very fast.
We're reaching way more people. And so that is also the mission, is how do we reach more people than you and I possibly could on our own?
Yeah.
Which is pretty exciting.
It's really cool.
So thank you for tuning in. And if you want to be part of the mission, head to sitwithit.co/certification and check out our online practitioner training program. And otherwise, we will see you in a future episode.
If you got value from this episode, share it with a fellow renegade and make sure to subscribe. Leave a review for your chance to win some swag and a shout out on the podcast. And for the episode show notes, head to therenegadepodcast.com. We'll see you on the next episode.